We are live on DiamondClub.tv and recorded on YouTube.
Heck yeah. Let me tweet out that we're live.
But welcome, everybody. Let me just go ahead and get chat up to make sure that nothing is screwed up.
Beautiful.
All right. Pull up my notes.
Yeah. Man. If only there was lots of really exciting stuff to talk about in weird news.
Oh, Brian, I know. I was sitting here scratching my head, going, "What are we gonna do?" We'll begin, but just think of something weird, because
it's been it's been fairly normal things this week.
yeah, yep.
Oh, hold on. Hey, Jason? Yes, sir. I tried to call you, but Justin and I were hoping to book you on Night Attack tonight. Are you free? We start at 7.
This is the part where Brian books Night Attack.
All right. We're all booked. We're ready to go.
All right, awesome. We are live. We're live everywhere. We're good to go.
We're live, great. And I just switched screens so I can't see you guys. Okay, there we go. You ever get like where your shirt feels tight underneath like your arms and like your circulation feels like it's being cut off?
Yeah,
like your arms?
So swole.
I assure you it would be purely from the Cherry Garcia if there's any swelling going on. I've been sitting around watching Band of Brothers in the Pacific, just like, you know what? I'm going to eat my ice cream and watch these guys suffer.
Watch these guys fight for the freedom that I now enjoy.
Exactly. I'm like, thank you. Yeah.
How to be an American.
My grandfather's ashamed. Or a machine gun nest, so I can sit on my ass and just... So, just real quick aside, Brian, I'm watching the Pacific going, man, God, this one of these actors, I'm like, what did I see him in? You know, what was he in? Was he in The Wire? Gosh, where's that guy from? And then it dawned on me, my improv class.
No, that's amazing.
I've had that in that class. I've had like there were 2 other people there that like one I acted out this scene with this girl about like I was like played it like she cheated on me, but was actually she went to see Star Trek Into Darkness without me.
Okay.
And then I go watch Star Trek Into Darkness again, and I see her in there. She plays Mickey's wife, you know, from Doctor Who.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know, the one that she's the mother of the child that, you know, Khan manipulates for whatever. I'm like, that is hilarious about this town. So, all right, we ready to go?
Let's go.
The readiest.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Weird Things.
Yeah.
That was we had to have like a moment for everybody to just, you know, shout and cheer across America and around the world.
That's what I imagine they're doing. That voice you just heard was Mr. Brian Bry Brushwood.
Brian Bry Junior Shabadoo. That's my full name.
The other voice there is Mr. Justin Robert Young.
Hello, friends and loved ones. We're reunited. We had a me and Andrew episode last time, but finally we were able to make it work.
Yeah, it's me and what's his face. Now that we're all here.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play the Weird Things drinking game, now's the time to start, and maybe call your local poison control center, because we've hit the hit the trifecta of weird things that are fascinating to us. Let's get started right now with the latest from SpaceX.
Oh, we're playing the hits, folks. If you came to listen to this podcast and you're like, man, I really like when they go off on some random stuff about holes in Russia and people, maybe doing something a little weird, but I would like for them to play what brought them to the dance, SpaceX.
I got that too. I just want to catch up on that. Brian, did you see the latest video they released of the last launch?
Is this so this is not the soft landing in the water that we saw release. Oh, that's the one? Dude, it's
yeah. So
very exciting.
They tried they put out a video before that was supposed to show sort of the soft landing in the water, but to call it degraded was an understatement.
There was like 6 frames, and then they'd have an explanation of like, yeah, you're not gonna see any better than this. This is as good as it gets.
Take our word. We've got printouts that say that it did what it did. Well, finally they have a little bit better video now. Imagine here, if you know what you're looking at, then you get it. You go, oh, cool. If you don't know, you're like, what's this? Here's the problem. You think like, how hard is it to get good video? How hard is it to get good video? Well, you got to put a camera.
Yeah.
On the outside of a rocket engine.
Sounds simple.
Yeah. That's already like, got vapors and steam and heat, and then it's got to go up into space. As it's going into space, there's flames and all sorts of other stuff. And then you go from.
Also, keep in mind, I'm not an expert here, but it seems like aerodynamics matter on a rocket. I don't know, like it's not. You can't just stick a GoPro with some hot glue on the outside.
That's probably how they started. And so yeah, you've got to have. So you have your little glass window or whatever. Then you have this thing stuck there, and then so you go from atmosphere to no atmosphere. Then you've got to go through re-entry, and you look at the bottom of a rocket, what that looks like to shield it. So it's a complicated problem to stick a camera on the outside of a rocket, apparently. This time they got better footage. You can see part of the re-entry burn. You can actually see water. You can see what they did. That first stage, 75% of the rocket, 75% of the cost of the rocket SpaceX sent up. They sent a rocket that went off to go do its mission, and that first stage went and landed back into the ocean softly. Gently. Unfortunately, water's not a very good surface to land things on, and things tend to sink. So,
but keep in mind, this wasn't their goal. Their goal was, normally it's you just let it fall into the drink and then like who cares. But they're like, well, why don't we practice landing it? And of course, if you've listened to the podcast before, this is a very big deal because if you have a 3-stage rocket where each stage lands itself back on the pad, you have a truly reusable spaceship. You have a Buck Rogers style 747 into space.
So let's talk about where SpaceX thinks they are right now. The next 2 missions they're doing are to geosynchronous orbit, which means it's much, much farther out and takes a lot more fuel, so there won't be enough fuel left in the tank to let it do this re-entry. After that, they've got a mission coming up where they'll have a little bit of fuel left in the tank to do a re-entry, and their goal, ready for this,
I tell you, it's like I'm thinking to myself, well, there's only 3 things we like to talk about on this show: SpaceX, Marvel movies, and Mars. So I got to assume it's Mars.
Well, no, I'm talking this more short term, right after this next mission.
Oh, wait, where then?
After the next 2 missions, they want to land on a solid surface. They're planning September or October to try to land the first stage on solid ground.
Wait a minute, hold on, because it sounded like you said September or October, like the months that come after the month we just started, or another one that comes after like 3 months after this one, like that September or October.
We could be looking at before the end of this year, which is already closer to being over than starting. SpaceX trying to land the first stage on solid ground.
So huge.
That's absolutely insane. And that's, I mean, just, again, the headline here, and you can see the better video, but the headline was that they successfully were able to do this in a way that, and Andrew, you pay closer attention, I just kind of read headlines and assume I know everything. If the rocket that they landed in the water, they feel like that whole process going the way it went could have landed it on land, right? This was the first time they were doing it publicly.
Yes.
Wanted to
or
show
at least promising enough that they're willing to try it. Like they don't feel like it's just going to spin out of control. I mean, because keep in mind, part of bringing the rocket back to land means that there's going to be cows and people and buildings and things, and so you have to be fairly confident you're going to get it into the right area.
So their goal is, their quote was, "A vehicle tipped sideways as planned to its final water-saving state in a nearly horizontal position. The water impact caused a loss of hull integrity, but we received all the necessary data to achieve a successful landing on a future flight." So their plan is, they're highly confident. Well, this is a SpaceX quote. "At this point, we are highly confident being able to land successfully on a floating launch pad or back at the launch site and refly the rocket with no required." Let me try this again. "At this point, we are highly confident being able to land successfully on a floating launch pad or back at the launch site and refly the rocket with no required refurbishment."
So wait a minute. So they're not going to. They are landing it on land, or on a floating platform.
Pick, Brian.
Well, I'm just curious, but now here's the other thing, and I assume the next stage is once they get the first stage to land successfully, and it doesn't matter whether it's on a platform or hard land. Once they have it, I assume there has to be an extraordinary number of tests they have to do to find out like how many microfractures there are, like what parts can instantly be reused again, and whether or not they just can refill and go.
So yes, and that's all part of it. So right now, they're looking at like the next 2 flights, which again to geostationary orbit aren't enough fuel, but they're looking at flights 14 and 15 will attempt to land on a solid surface with an improved probability of success. Flight 14 is an Orbcomm satellite, October. Flight 15 is launch of a Turkmen satellite, November.
So again, these are gigs for SpaceX, right? Like they are, they are getting paid for, and then it's on the back end that they are trying this stuff out once their work in space is.
Yeah, all of the rockets they've been launching now are called Falcon 9Rs, and the R stand for reusable. And they had we talked about this before. It's one of the things that Elon Musk has done. He did this with the Tesla, where he had some secret features in there that he revealed later on. And they revealed, oh yeah, all of our rockets we've been launching up until like before they tried the re-entry landing, like yeah, they've had reusability built in. Now we're going to try to turn that switch on and see if this works. So,
obviously a gigantic step forward, and but as ever with Elon Musk, did you see Elon's public fretting today on Twitter?
No.
An eye on the horizon for Elon Musk. He's already pioneering what will be space flight, revolutionizing the auto industry. But yet today on his Twitter account, I guess we're gonna do picks early, or at least Elon Musk's picks early. Recommends our final invention, a book about AI. And then says, hope we're not just the biological bootloader for digital superintelligence. Unfortunately, that's increasingly probable.
Wait a minute. He really said this?
This is on Twitter, yeah. Turns out he also liked Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is great. This line is when Star-Lord says his spaceship looks like a Jackson Pollock painting under blacklight.
Hope we're not. I don't think he's talking specifically about SpaceX. He's not talking about like his company's mission statement.
No,
I think he's wondering about humanity's future.
He said, worth reading, also Superintelligence by Bostrom. We need to be super careful with AI, potentially more dangerous than nukes.
All right, this is something, man. Is it okay if we can go on a quick side jag? But listening to the Harmontown podcast, they were talking about this idea, and Dan Harmon was saying that he's convinced that artificial intelligence will take over, but we will be very well kept, well cared for pets for the AIs, like what we're going to be their dogs basically, which when I heard it, I'm like, that's ridiculous. But the more I think about it, the more it sounds exactly right, because what are we going to write all of our AIs to do? To provide for us, to take care for us, to please us, to make sure we live long, healthy, happy lives, and then we're going to outsource the rest. So the grown-up AIs will handle the mining and the expansion and the colony building and Brian, the intergalactic war in the quadrants. What?
Brian, did you call your mom today?
What's that?
Did you call your mom today?
Did I?
Yeah.
Why?
Did you remember to look after your mom today? Did you check in and see how she's doing?
I mean, it was a busy day. It was a busy day.
It was a day. You had your own priorities, your own things.
No, but see, here's the difference: is that we will write our children with core values, and their core values will be like just like it's hardwired in us to take care of our kids, and we're hardwired to want to take care of our dogs and birds and whatever. Like that's the way our robot children will feel about us. There's no way we're going to build them where they'll have malice for us. It's like they'll just want to take care of us.
Let me play devil's advocate here, and I will give my own reason why I don't think we should be afraid. But when it comes to that, I think the problem gets into is when, you know, the one that's like a version of us that looks kind of like us and similar, that's fine. But the week later, the one that's as far away from us as we are from a paramecium, you know, like the super.
All right. I see where you're coming, but I don't know. It's
in Africa. They call it bushmeat. Okay.
All right, that's a fair point, but I think that for the next few hundred years, to be honest, I actually agree with Elon Musk's fears. I think there's no way. The more I think about it, there's no way our stupid human bodies leave this planet. I think, or not this solar system. I think that machines are our children, and that's who actually gets to leave because they can last long enough.
Or hybrids or something. I think that you know when if you're a machine, you're going to have a different goal than we are. And the story of life on this planet is actually a story of cooperation more than competition. You know, you look at your own body, and you have a stomach filled with bacteria that you're in a symbiotic relationship with. Your ear holes and everything else, your body is teeming with it. So if we look at all of the biota around us, you're going to find that we're actually much more competition. You have competitions you're in the exact same ecosystem, and you're competing for, let's say, photosynthesis, but outside of that, it's a lot more cooperative. It's division of labor, things that we understand from economics, and we understand that. And I think that's where we'll get into, is that, you know, we're dumb machines, but we're creative machines, and we'll be able to solve certain problems and stuff. But I don't know if I'm going to look upon them to be, you know, like they're going to be our kindly children, because they will accelerate at such a rate that.
Well, explain to me why they. I mean, I know that we could picture a future where we are so far left in behind that we really are irrelevant. But right now, every line of code put into Siri is being written so that Siri can better serve us. I mean, that's all she's going to want to do is solve our problem. Like it's not in the code to suddenly flip a switch and be like, fuck these guys. You know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't curse. But like it's just not. It's not. It's.
But the future of code is the idea that the code then writes itself. It then writes its objectives. You know, you look at neural processing. We can't tell it how to pick out the word in the crowd, and it figures out how to do it. You give it an objective and it do this. And I think this is going to be developed heavily. Heavily, they're going to go into this, the idea of creating an intelligent AI to serve humanity in the new documentary coming out called Avengers 2: Age of Ultron. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out there. I hear that Tony Stark's onto this.
Probably the most interesting conversation I've ever had about AI with Andrew is, Andrew, you've had the theory that, you know, if we want to worry about what artificial intelligence will react with us in the future, that you should look at Ricardo's law, or the idea that, you know, there is always going to be, AI will always expand as we cooperate with them and as they cooperate with us.
Yeah, Ricardo was basically an economist who came up with this understanding of why, if you're a more advanced Ricardo's rule, just the idea that if you're England, why do you want to trade with, you know, Portugal? Well, if you're England and you're producing wool, and you can produce your wine cheaper than Portugal can sell it to you, why do you still want to buy Portuguese wine? And the answer comes down to, it's a law of comparative advantage, and basically the idea is that if you're focusing on wool, which is a more productive environment or industry, then you're going to make more than if you're spending part of your industry making wine where you can just buy it elsewhere. And that's why, you know, trade, things like this really work and function well. That division of labor, it goes down to, we've talked about this before, like, you know, we have this idea of the noble savage, but if you have to make your shoes, make your spears, hunt your fish, and do everything like that, you don't have a lot of free time. But once you go to somebody and say, you're good at making shoes, you make shoes, you do this. And that comes into, so what is our role going to be in a, a computer economy, a robot economy? Well, it might be that there are a few really brilliant people that are very creative and can work well with them, and the rest of us, our job is to make movies and to entertain those people.
I mean that could be, and we sort of talked about this, I think, previously, where we're entering a world, and part of this is because I reread the book Abundance, which was written by one of the co-creators of the Ansari X Prize. We really are entering a world where scarcity of just about anything will be a thing of the past, and in this world, my crackpot libertarian leanings notwithstanding, I think there will be a basement where you don't have to work if you don't want to, but you only get the basic, 25 different items of food. You only get the garden variety healthcare. You only get, this regular default house or whatever. But if you want something more, then you have to put something into society that other people want. So in other words, real life becomes like Second Life. In Second Life, if you want another house, you press a button and there's as many houses as you want out there. But if you want to be successful and popular and get Linden dollars in that world, what you do is you put forth creative energy to create something that previously did not exist, and then you get premium made-up items. I feel like that's what's going to happen in real life.
I think that the problem is that some things will always be scarce, and I think that you get into a situation like our housing crisis was based upon the idea that let's entitle everybody to be able to own a house, and how do we structure our economy to do that? And we did that, and that became problematic because we had the one resource which was harder to produce is land, et cetera, like that, and we look for these solutions, and I do think that you don't have to look for, you look at the average what it means to be poor today versus what it meant to be poor 60 years ago, and our generation has never seen poverty like poverty existed. Our generation does not understand. And again, there are people right now in very tragic situations who are homeless, who are in shelters, and I'm not at all. But as a percentage, or the people like that, when you go to a class or you go to a school, or you think out what percentage of these kids are like in a house with no electricity, no telephone, no cable, no anything like that. That's extremely rare. Happens, but and there are pockets of these things where that is true. But for the overall, poor people today, are more likely to have a transportation they did before, et cetera, et cetera. You look at that, and what qualifies to the poverty level today was middle class 30, 40 years ago.
Oh, and it was living greater than the greatest pharaoh 3,000 years ago, right? When the way to wield power was to move slaves around, then it was very difficult to have the variety of food. If you wanted,
what a pain in the neck! Oh, try moving more than 2 slaves around, such a hassle. But a better way.
My point is, if you wanted to be able to walk into a room and have 7 different options for a meal, the only way that was possible was to have enough money and power that you could have 7 different pre-cooked meals made so that you could ignore 6 of them and choose one. Like little things like that we don't have anymore. That's why I don't know. I feel like, back to AIs, I feel like we will continue to build and shape our robot children who will eventually become our overlords. But we will always have fingers in it to guide them to make sure that they do what we want. Like, that's the question is, what's our role in society?
I think that we won't be able to control that. Once they're smarter than us, they're smarter than us.
Well, so what? Look, I'm smarter than my parents. I still love them. I'm smarter than my dog. I take care of the dog. I'm smarter.
Like, the only thing that I worry about with these kind of things, and to be honest, I don't feel in any way comfortable of saying where I think things will go because I have no idea, right? All I worry about when I look at what popular thought was in the past, and now we look back as great folly, is that the wrong predictions tend to be moored so tightly to what was modern era at the origin of the prediction that it completely ignores what in hindsight we look back on and say, like, well, of course. I mean, like, this thing was happening 50 years before they made this prediction that was so obviously about this one fixed point in time. And so I kind of wonder if the way we look at AIs as like, well, will they be our friends and project us to the stars, or will they be our overlords and slave masters, is just something that I feel like in 50 years, in 100 years, in 2,000 years, we will look at as like, well, wow, that was a really weird binary argument that we decided to have.
Sure, and the thing that'll happen is the first really intelligent AIs that are conversational and stuff are going to be sitting in massively huge servers and systems like that, and the idea that these things are going to become out of control or whatever and we can pull the power plug will seem absolutely ludicrous. But when we start getting into the second and third and fourth generation versions of those that are increasingly more and more intelligent and are able to design their own hardware, et cetera, like that, and we already live in an economy that's shaped by, in many ways, black box computers making decisions. You have, we don't know what kind of black box, software there's being used in certain hedge funds and other places to make decisions, et cetera. But I guess my point is like, well, the first, you'll get the false singularity. We'll have robots we talk to, things like that. And we're like, oh, this is really cool. This is what it's like. Well, but then there's the future of that future.
Well,
and that's where it's
and understand, like if you want to know, and I know it's always a problem to say, if you want to know what the future is like, look at right now. But you can start to see just in our lifetime, like if you are young enough that you remember hearing about the internet but not seeing it, and it being a thing that you went and connected to, instead of this appendage that's in your pocket at all times. The answer to to any question you have is now in your pockets. It's not that things change dramatically. It's that the gap between you and information, between you and decision making, between you and execution of whatever it is you need to do gets smaller and smaller. And of course, the next phase is by the time before we die, we'll have there's a good chance we'll have heads-up displays in our eyes. By the way, I had a great idea for an interactive OS for this stuff. I was thinking about like what's a way to, because Google Glass, you touch and you move around or whatever. Imagine with you're wearing glasses and there's some kind of heads-up display and you want to subtly communicate it. And I don't know if this is something I should patent or not, because somebody has to have thought of this before me. But it seems like having stuff on the side of your temples would be able to tell when you click the left side of your jaw, click those teeth together, versus the right side of your jaw, click those teeth together, or when you click both down. So if that's the case, you could do a binary sort and without using your hands or voice commands or anything, very quietly and subtly, yes this, no this, and then and actually do searches for common ideas, like an OS where you're just gonna like that. Is that a crazy idea? Is that a dumb idea?
I don't know that I'm qualified, but I know that there's like you have ever see like the Star Wars Jedi Force controller toy?
No, what is it?
It's just you can put they have toys things that can measure subtle muscle impulses and stuff that you can control stuff with. So there are ways to do that. And there's also the possibility of creating a digital appendage, so to speak, that you just could control like any other limb by just wiring it in. We had tails once, guys. Let's bring them back.
To be honest, it's like at the point that we start thinking of better ways to sort heads-up display information, we need to first have really good heads-up display information that we want to be able to sort very quickly. Because having used Google Glass for a couple months, it became very clear to me that we are in the prehistoric ages of understanding what we want right in our eyeball at any given time. Like we're really not close. And Google Glass and that AI, or sorry, that OS was a good first step, but it was, to me, nowhere near where I think if it is going to become a thing, it needs to be, because it was a lot of superfluous stuff followed by some really, really valuable stuff that I had to kind of go out of my way to find, and it wasn't natural behavior that I really wanted to do every single day.
I finally played with Google Glass, by the way. I got to try one.
What was your thought?
Hell of a lot easier just to take out my phone.
Well, and plus also, you've recently been seduced by the Oculus Rift bug, and I don't know how much you talked about it last week, to the tune of like building your own, Google Cardboard and so on.
It's gotten even deeper than that.
That's awesome.
I might be able to say something next week, but we'll see. We'll just say that my interest has attracted interest. I'm fascinated, and that's a thing where I look at it as a different kind of medium. And I was when the Google Glass first came out, I was actually cool, because what I thought it was going to be, like a dual display thing that augmented and stuff like that. I'm like excited, and I'm still excited about the potential of, like, I've made. If you go to my Tumblr, you'll see I've made a 3D camera that's a head-mounted 3D camera, so you can watch your hands as you do stuff and record it in 3D. And so I've been, like, for fun, just like doing card tricks and things like that and recording in 3D. And then when you watch it back, it's a really intense experience when you watch it in a virtual viewer, because you really feel like you're there. And I think that
real quick, because we were, I think it was you or maybe Justin had mentioned this. Like, is it a case where you can look left and right or look down, like you're not controlling your hands, but the subjective experience is
just for what I made my viewer. Mine is just a way to record a stereoscopic 3D image. It's not an immersive one where you turn your head around.
Okay.
But it's because you're supposed to be looking at the hands as the hands are doing the trick. There's no point to look around. And the idea for certain kinds of instructional stuff, imagine learning a card trick where you literally put on the glasses and you see, and you can hold the deck of cards in your own hand, but watch, the virtual version. So,
oh wow, I didn't even think about that part. I was thinking about, like, just the idea of a library. Like, imagine a whole magic performance where the magician, because think about it, when you get into sleight of hand, a lot of the moves that you love the most, that you learn to make work, you love them because they fool yourself. And imagine if you had a couple cameras and you're able to do this stuff. Like, I mean, that's an exciting idea.
Imagine.
All right.
Try, Brian.
Someday.
That, whatever that would be. That sounds like that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Hey, can I ask you about this? I forwarded over you that email, and I don't know how skeptical to be about this perpetual motion
Brian, that will not
microwave.
be your next topic. No, Brian.
Oh shit.
That will...
Two minds, same, brilliant minds, think alike.
Yeah, and us too. So, Brian, you want to do the intro on that?
Well, I mean, really, I only read a little bit, and I immediately forwarded it over to you because I knew you would dive into it and find out. But I guess, as blogs tend to do, they overstate the benefit and the importance of it. But I guess there's an engine. They used to laugh at this man for his idea of an engine that ran on magic microwaves that violated the laws of physics. And then they built one. And then China built one. And another guy built one. Are they laughing now? Yes, they're still laughing at him. I mean, is essentially the story that I got.
We've talked about this before, I think, as sort of like potential theoretical technology. And I think the basic idea is a thing called the EM drive, or the M drive. And it's this enclosed chamber where it generates a microwave that then causes some forward propulsion without any loss of propellant. Okay? In traditional classical physics, you can't move something forward without a reaction or without spitting off stuff, or pushing against something. Okay? This says that it can do that, which of course people are like, can't work, that's not going to work, it's a closed system, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Other people paid attention to it and said maybe there's something there, or maybe there's something to this idea. A group of Chinese scientists built one in 2009, enough for a little satellite thruster, and the amount isn't important as much as if you can get an effect. Okay, but still people said, it's such a subtle thing. There's so many different ways in which you can get bad data. Remember the faster than light, signal thing that came out.
Yeah.
That we and everybody was like, this can't be real. And I would say that that it was the level at which it was a experimental error probably was sort of silly. But anyhow, so this still floated around out there, and you could follow some progress on it. And then Harold Sonny White at NASA, who we've talked about before, who's with NASA's Advanced Propulsion Systems, they made a version of their own, going on their own concept, and measured it. And they said, now this is NASA now, not infallible, Martian bacteria and asteroids and
arsenic-based life forms.
Yes, but they're I would say they're about as credible as an institution as you can get. Mistakes will be made, and I'm a big NASA fan myself, but I'm saying is there have been instances before, but NASA said that they have tried this and they've actually been able to measure something. Now, here's the thing: some people are crying foul, says nope, this violates classical, this violates physics, this can't work. They're saying no. In space you have basically a quantum foam where you get spontaneously particles that appear and then disappear. And this is a bedrock of quantum physics. We know this to be true as well as we can observe these things. So we don't dispute that, the idea that that's the way the space really is. Things are probabilistic. They're saying that what this does is it generates something that pushes off of those particles. It does that. So
real quick. At the end of the day, all engines are mass drivers, which means you got to fling something away to push you a little bit farther forward, right?
Not as that's the thing too. That their defensive is like, or somebody says, what about a light sail?
Well, okay, but in that case, that is also a mass driver, because in that case you have a sail and you have little particles from the sun flinging like hailstones, hitting it, pushing you forward, and it all boils down to Newtonian something either being flung away to push you forward or something bumping into you to push you forward. This is what I can't wrap my mind around. This engine is what is it that's being shot out?
And so, but again, a solar sail, it's photons. And so, photons they're not photons.
I mean, they like mass. I mean, that's a mushy area. In my mind, I can wrap my mind around it because I know that photons do act like energy, but they also act like mass sometimes, And so, in my mind, that's mass hitting something and pushing it forward, so I can wrap my mind around it. That's what's difficult about this engine, is I don't know.
But as long as you apply power to your flashlight, you can keep producing photon. There's a fuel tank or something else, you can't. And so it comes down to a matter of energy. And they're not saying here with this thing that this doesn't use energy. This uses energy. They're saying that the way that it creates propulsion, is unique. So
let me just break it down for all the idiots for whom I speak for. The big idea with this is that if you're going to travel into deep into space, you can only travel as far as you can bring fuel to take you, right? That you can bring some kind of mass or something to take you there. What this does is, although it consumes energy, you can do it on something far less, which therefore theoretically, should it work, take us farther than we ever could think about going, before we understood how we were going to get X amount of fuel up somewhere that we could go there and back, right?
It's so astonishing. Yeah, like how little, because understand, if this pans out, it sounds like it's going to be a giant leap forward over ion drives, which ion drives already are ridiculously subtle. We're talking about an engine that at full force gives you the power of a piece of paper pushing down on your hand by gravity. Like, that's how much thrust we're looking at to move it forward. So if this is an increased level of efficiency, I mean, that's great.
Well, so we'll see what happens. Is that we're in an area where there are people other will say it doesn't. I'm not qualified to weigh in on this other than try to understand it in my own sense, but it's very curious. So if it does happen, it certainly changes the way that you would think about building spacecraft. If you want to go to Mars, you basically just create yourself a nuclear engine to provide your power, and you don't worry about propellant. And you start off slow, and as Brian points out, you build up speed after a period of time.
Well, just put one on the next trip that SpaceX takes? I mean, like, they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Why not just let's just try it out? Whatever.
I guarantee you that there are engineers in SpaceX in a secret section there that are working on looking at these sort of things. Maybe not as a full time, but you got to wonder. You know, Elon Musk and his friends probably have a really cool 30% time thing like Google, which is stuff like this.
Well, gee, maybe wrap his head around it if we weren't too busy laughing at dirty jokes and silly comic book movies.
Yes.
Do you ever get struck with the idea that maybe, and maybe every generation thinks this, but like maybe like we won the time to be born lottery in that we were born at a time of punch cards and early computers, and already halfway through our lives here, or 2/3 in my case. No, we have iPhones and the internet and SpaceX, and it's like, I don't know. I just feel like I mean, what an amazing lucky draw that we got that we get to see so much change, and no other generation in our stupid species has ever gotten to do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad now and not earlier, but you know, the generation after us that gets immortality and godlike powers and can build and create their own universe might feel a little bit differently, you know.
Yeah. They're all like, oh, finally, we're the first generation that gets to go post-physical. Poor old carbon-based grandpas.
The ones that had to die.
Like to slave through life if I were only to be born 100 years before.
I'll tell you what, man. It's this is the part that breaks my heart, is the idea of Kurzweil being right, but him dying just shy of that immortality mark. Like that's
such a morbid way to think about it, though. Like,
no, but it's also his stated plan. Like that's why he has stated that this is why he's like really into life extension, health extension, calorie restriction, vitamin megadosing, and stuff that, to be honest, sounds to me ventures into the realm of we'll generously say fringe science, pseudoscience. But the reason he's doing it, his stated goal is like, you know, my goal is to keep my body long enough that we could cross that singularity mark. And I mean, I hope he does.
Yeah, no, so do I. I mean, here's my thought about that. Why doesn't everybody believe that they're going to make it to the singularity? Like, what does it cost you? Like, why would you rather go through life not thinking that you're going to live forever in some computer hive mind? Like, there's just, to me, it's this idea like, oh no, I'd rather make peace with the idea that I'm going to die. Screw it. Like, I'm not going to make peace with the fact that I'm going to die. I'm going to say loud and proud that I'm going to live forever, and everyone's going to have to deal with my voice until the end of time. And then if I'm wrong, it wouldn't be the first time.
But it's already true, man. It's like everything, and I don't know if we've talked about this on Weird Things, but it's like everything that you say is kind of the algorithm that is you. You know, you exist as sort of a set of patterns that are affected by stuff that happens to you from the outside, but also you affect other things around you, and so much of what we've said for the last half decade is preserved and will be enjoyed and will affect the ideas of other people, and maybe it's that stupid poetic, metaphorical immortality, but we are immortal in that our conversations and our ideas will affect the universe forever, and those ripples will exist.
Can I tell you my plan, which I'll finally reveal to you guys?
Okay.
It's all been prelude. So many episodes of Weird Things have all been leading up to this one moment. Go ahead.
No, so Brian and Justin are the beneficiaries of occasional news articles, things that I find amusing, and sometimes some little commentary, you know. I'm like, oh, this is interesting, blah, blah, blah. And so there's a little bit back and forth, but I send a lot of the stuff. Brian and Justin are like the only two guys I do this to. And some of it I just wouldn't do for general public because I have some opinions I'm happy to share. I have other opinions that I don't want to share.
Yeah.
Because, like I hate going on Facebook and having people put their politics in my face. Because most of it's stupid. But anyhow, my plan is this. You know Google News Alerts?
Yeah.
I'm gonna create my own. I'm gonna design my own algorithm with what I think is kind of cool, and then all the random Andrew commentaries and stuff. So if I should die prematurely, you guys will get spontaneous.
Get those emails. Yes.
Hey, Brian,
this
cool.
is great. This is
Justin,
great.
check this out. Reminds me of this.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be great. I'll
tell you what.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm 100% down for this. Now, what you need to do is
maybe I've already been doing it.
You need to work it a little bit farther forward. You need to set the algorithm so that over the years it skews more and more to one extreme, either blue state or red state, and then increasingly starts picking out political cartoons, and then finally just figures out whoever the most hotly debated politician is, and then figures out something slightly racist to say about that politician, so that you can be.
You're just designing the AI for your mom.
I wasn't thinking of my mom. I was thinking of an older grandparent relative. But yeah.
No, that's amazing. That is a beautiful thought. But to Brian, your thought is poetic. I absolutely am in love with the idea that what we are saying right now will, because of its digital nature, have a great likelihood to live in immortality, and it is already shaping the digital landscape. However, I'm throwing my hat over the wall. I'm not wearing a hat, but it's because it's already over the wall. I want to be living in a world where my consciousness, when Justin Bieber IV is elected president of the United States, I want this voice to be saying to somebody, he's an asshole like his great-grandfather. Like, I want that level of modern commentary, be it through some medical advances for which we live forever, or some my voice is just like on a box somewhere that people can just click on a website, and there I am yammering. I want to live forever in that way.
Yeah, part of that presupposes that you'll continue to care about the same things, though. I suspect as you get older, but then again, I suspect that part of the reason older people tune out or withdraw or go into their bubbles and only say the same thing is it's like we're all at a party, and then a bunch of people start leaving the party, and then you're like, but the party's still going, but it's like you look around, you're like, man, I don't even know these assholes, and it's like all the good folks left, and now it's just me. Your music sucks at this party now. I don't like this guy's face over here. And it's like I think that's why they disengage, is because the party starts to suck.
I don't know about all elderly people. I know that it will be heartbreaking for me if the one element that has been constant in my life goes away as I get older, which is to be an attention whore and yell things for laughs. Like, that's pretty much the constant in my life, and I hope it is forever the constant in my life.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, like, again, you're still at the party making jokes, but like the bubble of people, it's like, hey man, earlier in this party, everyone got my jokes. Now it's like, a lot of those folks have left. Now it's just youth poor jerks.
Well, I was just in Montana, and I got to spend some time with some people, some new people who are pretty awesome, and then some people who I hadn't had a chance to people I'd met before, and one of my favorite people is a guy by the name of David Sands, and also Jack Horner, the paleontologist. Both of these guys are in their 60s, okay? And Dave may even be a little bit older than that, okay? Both these guys in their 60s, they're brilliant, brilliant scientists, and they're like hanging out with 10-year-old kids. They're as excited, enthusiastic about stuff as you can imagine. Dave Sands is brilliant scientist who's a biologist who's done a lot of pioneering research on, different kinds of, grains and stalks to sort of fight off disease, help feed people, other cool stuff. Jack Horner, of course, brilliant paleontologist who in this point in his life is also thinking about trying to build a dinosaur. And that's who I want to be like. I want to be like these guys. These guys are, their physical age has nothing to do with the fact that they're so curious, and that is the key. If you are curious about how the world works, you will never get bored. If you don't care, if you're not curious, then you shrivel up and die.
That's 100% true. And in fact, in their new book, Think Like a Freak, the folks who did the Freakonomics podcast and book of the same name, they talk about how one of the best things you could do is think like a kid, be like a kid, and they tell stories about people who never notice the stock boys up and down on top of the aisles because they look forward. Meanwhile, the kids are doing the idiotic thing of looking up and questioning everything. And they do a chapter with Alex Stone, who wrote the book Fooling Houdini, talking about how much harder it is to do magic for children because children question all of their fundamental assumptions, whereas adults they don't. They take that shortcut, and in that regard, I think they're 100% right.
Yeah. That's stay young, stay foolish, Gentlemen.
Easy for me.
Yes. Wait a second.
Oh, last name humor.
I was saying we do picks, but I don't know if there's really anything we could pick.
You know what? I will waste a pick before we talk about the only thing that all three of us want very badly to talk about. Real quick, I do want to mention that I started force-feeding The Martian to Jason Murphy, and it was so much fun to go through that entire book again. We've talked about it before. I've never gotten more thank yous on Twitter for making a book recommendation than I did for that. It's and it really stands up. What's that? Oh, yeah, allegedly Ridley Scott and what's his name? Matt Damon attached to the movie side. It's great. It's great. There's a million reasons it's great. The audiobook is very well read. Highly recommend.
The fact that as soon as Brian was obsessed with it, I ran into the author at a reading and took a picture of me and him flicking Brian off.
It was really great, and I think one of the things that, and I found this out after the fact, but I found out that it was an Andrew Mayne style success story in that he was self-published and just out of doing it on his own, and from there built this incredible groundswell where it became mass published. Which by the way, I don't know how much I can and can't say about your deal, but I definitely saw Rudy Kobe tweet out a advanced copy of Angel Killer mass market paperback, which I was really, really excited about.
Yeah. Just real quick, Martian slated for November of next year.
What? So they're already shooting?
They're confident they can turn this thing around, but my thing, September 23rd is when my book comes out. You can pre-order now if you want to.
Then definitely do so because as we heard from our friend Scott Sigler, pre-orders are gold. Like if you want to make something hit #1 on Amazon, pre-ordering right now it's basically, we've gamed iTunes systems or whatever before. Pre-ordering is gaming that system essentially on Amazon. I'm going to go there right now and type in Andrew Mayne. So really, you preload the shotgun, and then the day of release, it fires, and basically, however much buckshot you get in there is all the kick you get, right?
Yes. To embrace your violent analogy.
That's the big thing. That's why everybody does whatever they can to make sure that everybody buys kind of at the same time.
Do you want the paperback or the Kindle edition? What are you pushing us on?
I want you to get whatever edition that you want to get.
All right, that's a paperback and a Kindle coming up.
Do ebook sales count for the New York Times bestseller list?
They count for something.
I would say definitely buy the physical version.
I'm ordering the paperback right now. I don't want to take. I'm ordering both. I already read the book. I read the book like a year and a half ago. I don't care. I'm buying 4 copies.
This is super exciting.
We like to do on the show called Everybody Buys Andrew's Book at Once. So you guys go ahead and follow along with us and go to Amazon.com, search for Andrew Mayne, Angel Killer, and you'll be able to download, you'll be able to buy the Kindle edition, but I'm gonna buy the paperback. That's what comes out in September.
Well, plus, ebooks, whatever. Wow, dude, 4.5 stars, 228 customer reviews. I'm so stoked about this. That's awesome.
And September 23rd, hopefully, we'll launch with the audiobook. I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, dude, who read the audiobook?
I well, HarperCollins Audio produced it. I don't know who they finally settled on for that.
How exciting, man.
Publishers Weekly, by the way, called this book delightful.
That's amazing. I'm so excited.
And those are publishers that talk about stuff weekly. Like, they know what the hell's going on. But in all seriousness, Publishers Weekly is a huge industry trade, and to get a positive review from there is akin to, Hollywood Reporter or Variety or something like that, kind of saying that a movie is going to be not only good but successful. It's huge inside the industry.
And this comes out when again?
September 23rd.
All right, so we got time to book you on Night Attack and get everything happening.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna make sure that.
But yes, Angel Killer and The Martian are my picks. I don't know. Did you guys see anything worth a damn that we might want to talk about?
So, I get a call from a friend of mine. She's an actress, and she gets invited to she went to USC and she's in SAG, and she gets invited to these screenings. She says, "Do you want to go to an advanced screening of a movie? We can go see it like Tuesday, right?" I'm like, "Sure, yes." And it was the advanced screening of Guardians of the Galaxy, with on the schedule was James Gunn and Kevin Feige to talk afterwards.
Oh shoot!
Okay, so I go. James Gunn, bit under the gun from all the press tour, had the flu, couldn't do it, but Kevin Feige, the guy who's one of the masterminds of the Marvel Universe, was there, and he answered questions afterwards there. So I got to see it in a really, really awesome experience and get to see it in 3D. And then I went yesterday to go see it in 2D, like God intended. That's my backdrop for it, was going to see it like that.
So wait, the first time you saw it was in 3D, and then you went and watched it in 2D.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it last night in IMAX 3D. It's the first time. I think it's the first time that I paid like $20 and saw an IMAX 3D movie. I really adored the presentation. I thought that the IMAX added. I thought the 3D added. And it's like I'm gonna go see it again in 2D next week to take Bonnie when I'm back home. But man, I liked that movie a lot.
So I saw it in IMAX 3D, then I saw it in 2D. Not because this is that's what everybody wants to hear when they're listening to a discussion about Guardians of the Galaxy, is to hear us debate the merits of the various
format
sections. The best compliment I can give to 3D is that if you see it in the right presentation, it doesn't take away.
Really?
That for me, yeah. I saw it in 3D, and I remember watching it in IMAX 3D and being like, "Wow, this looks amazing." I don't know how much it is because this digital projection looks amazing and it's huge. The audio is like rattling me out of my seat. But then I saw it in 2D, and thinking back, I can't think of a single moment in which I was like, "Oh my God, this was so much better in 3D compared to 2D."
That's great. That's awesome. Awesome to hear. Look, I know we don't have forever, so I'm just going to go straight to my favorite thing about it, which is what a triumph Rocket was as a character. I believed the cartoon Raccoon Man, and he had range and depth, and beneath his sarcasm and genius was a loneliness and an agony. I believed. They nailed a sarcastic, mocking laugh. They nailed his racking sobs when he loses his Chewbacca. I can't say enough about that character. And it's like, when I go back, all I'm going to think the entire time until he shows up again is like, when did they get back to the Rocket stuff? That was so great.
A cartoon? I just watched a movie before where they found some really amazingly talented chimpanzees, and they were fantastic, and I'm convinced that they found some really talented.
Well, and that was the question I asked on Twitter, which is the greater accomplishment of character development with a computer-generated character? Caesar from Planet and Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy, and and even now I'm getting responses. People have good cases for both. Some people say, well, we have a frame of reference for chimpanzees, so as a result, it's more impressive that they made it look so real. We don't have a frame of reference for a talking, walking raccoon or whatever. But other people are saying that the raccoon, Rocket had a greater depth, a greater range, a greater arc, and you believe them.
Why must you divide them?
I don't know, because I'm fascinated with that. But anyway, I love the movie from beginning to end.
What an amazing summer where the best characters we saw were a wonderful combination of computer technology and fantastic performances by actors, which is maybe what our future is about, the combination of what we're going to be like with AI. Just bring it back there for a moment.
No, I think you're right, because it was significant that on Apes, when the credits came up, Andy Serkis got I have no idea what he looks like, but I know his reputation for his work, and he's amazing, and it's a
bald, very, very, very skinny, very, very, very skinny, big eyes, like sharp teeth, like
no, Gollum. You're thinking of Gollum. Yeah, that was Gollum.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I mean, where do we even begin to talk about this movie? I'm going to let you take point on this, man.
I liked it.
It's a good start.
So I'll weigh on this. And so the going into this, I can't remember a Marvel movie that had this much hyper buzz about it, this much enthusiastic response. Remember, like a year ago or so, when we first heard about Guardians of the Galaxy, there was a WTF moment from a lot of people. We're all going, if this works for Marvel, this is brilliant. If it doesn't, it'll be, why did you do this? And so there was that skepticism, myself included, and I like James Gunn. I'm a fan of the way he thinks, the way he does. Mutual friends, never met him, saw him once, almost said hello, didn't say it, chickened out. My loss, not his. But it's one of those things you go, man, the elements are there. It's space opera. I think that guys who do horror and comedy are some of the best directors in the world because they tend to be the smartest directors. To get a really good scare or a really good laugh takes a lot. So, it's like, man, the ingredients are there, but it doesn't have that built-in, major Marvel property kind of thing. And guess what?
Well, wait. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. But I guess that's one of the things I adored about it was that, I'm like, oh, well, is it as good as, the Avengers? And it's like the Avengers had such an unfair advantage. The Avengers was the finishing move on a 15-year con game they were pulling, with character development and laying out threads and bringing it all together. Whereas the fact that instantly I could fall in love with all 5 characters because they're all different, and I understand their motivations, and I believe them, and they all have their flaws. And I was shocked at how much heart there was in the movie. I was not prepared for that,
Oh yeah, it is a. I don't know if we want to get into spoiler territory, but
that to me is the big difference is that this is the first movie since Iron Man in which your main character is a funny guy, and it's not funny things happening to a character that's likable, which has tended to be kind of how the Marvel superheroes have operated outside of Tony Stark, and also that, I mean, that first, 2.5 minutes, man, that's territory, baby. I was choking up. I saw it 2 times, and both times I'm like, kind of like, no, it's fine. It's comfortable.
Yeah, no, I guess since we don't want to really spoil stuff, if you're on the fence, do yourself a favor and see it before anything becomes a cliche, before people start overquoting some of the best lines. And I don't even know what they are yet, but at some point, there's going to be some joke that comes out.
The script's great. A lot of people are talking about the fact this is the first Marvel movie that was written and then I guess co-written by James Gunn, but originally written by a woman. And so for everybody cares about that kind of stuff, that's really rad. I will say this is Marvel will, by the end of this summer, granted, a down summer, right, in box office movies, for those of you who care about it, Marvel will have 2 out of the top 5. Disney will have 3 out of the top 5. And that's the year before they release Avengers 2 and a little film called Star Wars Episode 7. So it's a good time to be in that system, and I think if you are looking at Star Wars beginning to unfurl, and you say, that what they wanted to do is look at Marvel and say, how can we apply this blueprint to give you more entertainment in this universe? You gotta be super excited, because hell, if Marvel can do a Guardians of the Galaxy movie as good as we just got, then there's no reason why we can't get a good Boba Fett, a good, X-Wing Squadron
Red
movie.
5 or whatever, yeah.
Different ways that we can go. That's super great. And Andrew, what was the email you sent us earlier about the world that we now live in? Just to put it in context for everybody.
I don't want to spoil anything.
No. Of the
the other one. Oh, I sent an email. So it's one of these things. I said, it's you look at now where the discussion is. Like you go to Variety or you go to The Wrap, and TheWrap.com had 11 more offbeat Marvel heroes who deserve their own movies, where you get a discussion about the potential of Agents of Atlas, which is, about as obscure. It wasn't even a Marvel property originally. It was Atlas Comics that was then acquired by Marvel. Cloak and Dagger talks about the Great Lakes Avengers.
Jeez. Wow,
Moon
Cloak and
Knight.
Dagger.
Yeah, I made a joke on Twitter because my producing partners for Don't Trust Danger Maine, Joke and Biagio, they produced Scream Queens, and James Gunn was the featured judge on that. And after that, he went on and he got to do Guardians of the Galaxy. And I said, well, if this is true, then I guess apparently after my show, I get to go direct Power Pack.
Which, by the way, that's totally like a joke. Like Power Pack was the version of it was the Marvel comic they gave away for free in your Kix cereal. But I'll tell you what, man, I wouldn't be surprised if they freaking nailed it this time. I remember there was like a Power Pack special edition warning about the dangers of child molestation, and like Peter Parker showed up to be all like, "There's good touches and there's bad touches, kid."
I don't remember that one so much, but as a kid, I liked Power Pack because like these kids, this it's kind of a Lensman, Lantern-esque sort of story. This big white horse comes down, and Space Horse gives them powers and stuff, and like this one kid can he can turn off gravity, but he can't fly. But he figures if he goes and grabs all of his mom's aerosol cans, or hairspray and stuff,
around. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he can push himself like that. I'm like, that was awesome. So. Turns out there was actually an attempt at a TV movie. If you type in Power Pack TV movie and look at it, you will be horrified.
Wow.
So just so everybody wraps their head around this, okay? Like, the basement of a comic book shop used to be the place where you would have arguments like what would make a better movie, Moon Knight, Cloak and Dagger, or Power Pack. And now it is the most reputable trades in the world that this is where we're at. Like,
those nerds are now running Hollywood. Okay?
Exactly.
And the funny part, too, is we've talked about this, is you look at some of the coverage that you're getting now from people who are like, oh, it's nerd stuff. Yeah, it's nerd stuff. Now this is the entertainment beat, and you have to cover it. And you see people talking about Star Wars and talking about these things that don't have a clue what they're doing, but now they're afraid of not being nerdy, afraid of being outed as like, oh, you just don't get it. You don't really read comics, do you? It's like
So
the nerds
good.
are the bullies now.
So good. And actually, that's a very insightful comment because now that the nerds are in power, and the whole discussion about like fake geek girls or whatever. I mean, you're right. I think that now that the nerds have ascended to, they have money, they have knowledge of the internet, and they have followers. You're right, man. Nerds are the bullies.
Call you out on whether or not you actually read the comics. We have our clown prince Weird Al mock your music. We are the ones in control now.
Dude, I can't think of a better way to go out, man. That was I'm so glad that we got together and get weird again, man.
Yeah, should do this again sometime.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, there's usually a thing that happens at the end.
Yeah. Go see Guardians of the Galaxy.
I mean, everybody will agree with that, right? But there's one little, it's a tag, people wait for it.
See it twice.
Well, I'm gonna do that. I'm the only one who hasn't. I feel bad.
Yeah, Brian, we've all seen it twice.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna book a flight back to Austin just so I can take my wife and see it for a second time.
Okay.
How's it been, man?
It's been weird.
Buddy. All right, guys, I'm signing off of Alpha Geek Radio. We are going to turn this thing around, and hopefully in the next, hour or so, we're going to do, in the next probably 30 minutes, we'll probably start doing.
We'll probably start a pre-show in 30 minutes or so. I'm going to take a shower. I'm still sweaty from biking from Tom Merritt's place, and
right.
I'm going to let Jason know our secret plans, and then we're going to be good to go.
Spoiler time?
Do you want to talk spoilers? Do you have time for spoilers?
Spoilers. Real quick spoiler. Just the joke I made to Justin before.
Oh.
Just teaser spoiler. How people are saying after Captain America. All right, spoiler. If you haven't seen.
Spoiler. Everything. Spoilers incoming.
Spoilers. We got spoilers here.
I'm leaving it on Alpha Geek. So let's go ahead.
Okay, I had no idea what the post-credit sequence was. No idea at all.
Oh shit.
Okay, so after the fact I connected something I heard but never knew, so I had zero idea what the post-credit sequence was. In fact, I'll tell you something. When I went, so it wasn't in the first print I saw. So when I went to go see it yesterday, I went from one theater and the audience was kind of a little bit lukewarm. So I went into another theater, which was in the Dome at the ArcLight, where I knew the audience was a lot more popped, and so I was glad I went there. So remember after Captain America Winter Soldier, people were like, oh, it's made Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so much better. It's made it better. I'm like, I don't believe that. I'm excited to see what happens to Season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., though, because I know Marvel is really trying to put a lot of energy into that franchise now, but I didn't believe that. I am very tempted to find out if Howard the Duck now becomes a better movie because of Guardians of the Galaxy. I was having
and what's funny,
like in iTunes to buy it.
I even and first of all, I did not hate Howard the Duck as a child. Everyone, I know I was supposed to not like it, but as a kid, I liked it okay.
I hated my heart when I was a child.
It was fascinating to me that they went out of their way to make Howard the Duck look more cartoony, like the comic book. Like they could have modeled him on the movie version and sort of tried to tie that in, but I don't know if is that a behind the scenes licensing deal where it's like, well, it can't look like this version, it's got to look like that version.
That to me was the spike of, it was the final flourish of the touchdown dance that Marvel just did, where it's like, we just made you guys love a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. We just scored 1 billion touchdowns doing that. So you want to know what? Now we're going to throw a character that we own and probably is a punchline for bad movies.
Yes.
We're just going to throw that right in your face, and you're going to love it. Welcome to 2014, where Marvel, eat it.
And for those who aren't clear on Howard the Duck, you have to understand, a long time ago, before George Lucas made the prequels, the thing he got criticized for and attacked for was because he lent his name as a producer to Howard the Duck. Really had anything to do with it creatively, but they'd say, presented by George Lucas, and that was the movie that people go, really?
Yeah.
Dude, so real quick, that dog, what's funny is I did not know that there was a Marvel character called Cosmo or whatever.
Dog. Yeah,
I did not know that, so I just took it as, he collected Laika and reanimated, the first dog in space or whatever.
Oh, yeah. That was, Laika was one of the cool characters from, the Cosmo is one of the cool characters from Guardians. I've been going through the Marvel Comics app, which is pretty cool.
What am I? Did you steal Peter Parker's camera?
No, you know what this is, Brian? So Black Magic makes the video cards and all that?
Oh shit! Yeah. I heard they were you were saying.
Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera shoots a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous film-like image on RAW or ProRes if you want, and so you can afterwards go in and color grade it, etc. It's a stunningly beautiful image. Normally $1,000. They were selling these cameras for $500 this summer. I had to get the lens and the mic separately. But so this is between the lens and the mic, it's a $1,000 camera that shoots cinematic quality images. I mean, it's HD resolution, but like it's got 12 f-stops in there, so the contrast ratio is stunning. So.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. By the way, Padre SJ says, I thought the end scene was a big finger to the haters. Hey, bitches, yeah, we may have sold off all our A-list properties, but we can make fistfuls of money off the worst characters. Don't believe us? Here's Howard the Duck. We dare you to bet against us.
I think it was a we're gonna have fun. They're like we're gonna have fun and we're gonna make a joke here, and we're comfortable enough. This is the same studio that gave you Winter Soldier. Can give you this.
Yep. No, it's great. It's great. Great. All right, look, we got to take a break so we can come back, do pre-show, and jump in.
Bye. Goodbye.
See Radio. You, we are out.
Dude, good show, guys. I'm glad that we were able to squeeze this in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being flexible, Brian.
What's up?
And thank you for being flexible on the time.
Oh, so we're fully off the air right now?
No. We are still... let me turn Alpha Geek Radio off.
Goodbye.
Oh, by the way, did you guys take a look at that? I'm sure you had seen it before, but that the PG porn thing that I forwarded over to you.
I don't think I'd ever watched that before. That was funny.
We're going off DiamondClub.tv. We will be back very shortly for Night Attack. Bye.